Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I call the hearing of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations to order. So I welcome all of you and thank you for your presence and participation. I will acknowledge the senators present later when I see their video feed. Just for the information of everybody, this is a continuation or a resumption of our January 14, 2021 hearing on the same subject matter, no? Because this afternoon we will be taking up again for the possible concurrence of the Senate the instrument of accession to the Convention on Temporary Admission CTA or the Carnet agreement, which is also known as the Istanbul Convention. Okay, so reminder na lang siguro sa lahat, since this is a resumption of a suspended hearing, and I've actually gone over the transcript as well as the presentations made during the last hearing, there is no need to redo what we already did or accomplished last January 14, 2021. Everything has been recorded. Unless the COMSEC will tell us if there is a need to submit some presentation materials, no, which we still do not have. So that's the reminder of the chair to our resource person. So siguro at this point in time, let me first of all greet our committee secretary, Madam Sukandao, a very happy birthday. So working day for you. so at this point, Comsec, can you now acknowledge now for our records the resource persons present this afternoon?
Yes, sir. Thank you po. For this afternoon, we have with us as our resource persons from the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs, Director Shirley Nuevo, Attorney Neil Brillantes. From the Office of United Nations and other international organizations, we have Deputy Assistant Secretary Roberto Manalo and Principal Assistant Maria Tania Gaurano. From the Office of the Undersecretary for Multilateral Affairs and International Economic Relations, we have Special Assistant Joselito Chad Jacinto. From the DOJ, we have State Counsel Paulito de Jesus. From the Department of Trade and Industry, we have Assistant Secretary Alan B. Hepty, Ms. Norma Arpaco from the Trade Industry Development, Mr. Matthew Austin Taninco, Ms. Mary Josephine Cruz, Mr. Jewel Udarbe, and Mr. Carmelo Nicolas of the Bureau of Import Services. We also have Deputy Executive Director Elsa Valenzuela from the Export Development Council with Ms. Melanie Huantala from Policy Advocacy. From the Department of Finance, we have Assistant Secretary Dakila Napao from the Revenue Operations Group. We have Attorney Zachary Walter Marie Selma from the Revenue Operations Group, Attorney Sheila Castalone from the Financial Analytics and Intelligence Unit, and from the Bureau of Customs, we have Attorney Julito Doria from the Legal Service Revenue and Collection Monitoring Group. We have Collector Wilnora Kawile. We have Ms. Tricia Lorraine Aguaza. And from the private sector, from the PhilExport, we have Dr. Sergio Ortiz Luis. From the Tariff Commission, we have Director Elvira Ignacio and Mr. Salvador Baliano. That's all for now, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, that's all for now.
Thank you, Comsec. So before we start hearing from our resource persons, allow this representation to make some statements by way of refreshing our memory. No? So there's only one item in our agenda this afternoon, the Convention on Temporary Admission. This was signed on June 26, 1990 by the then Customs Cooperation Council, which is now the World Customs Organization, during its session in Istanbul, Turkey. The facilitation document that is used under this convention is the Carnet or the Carnet, which is an international customs and temporary export-import document. This document is used to clear customs in many countries and territories without paying duties and import taxes on merchandise that will be re-exported within 12 months. Carnets are also known as merchandise passports or passports for goods. During our first hearing for this convention in January of this year, Assistant Secretary Dakila Napao of the Revenue Operations Group of the Department of Finance made a manifestation regarding the reservations that the Philippines initially made on the CTA convention. The DOF heeded our request during our briefing on December 9 of last year to revisit the 12 reservations because there are only 13 annexes. So 12 out of 13, we had some reservations or comments. Thus, the DOF and the Bureau of Customs revisited the reservations made and requested for an opportunity to resubmit the instrument of accession with these revised reservations. A communication from the Office of the President dated April 28, 2021 just correct me if I'm wrong, Comsec, about the data, was transmitted to the Senate submitting the amended instrument of accession to the CTA. We were also informed, among other things, that the DOF and the BOC have determined that the previous reservations pertaining to the imposition of VAT are incompatible with the letter and intent of the CTA. Hence, the removal of the previously endorsed VAT-related reservations now aligns the position of the Philippines with the particular guidelines provided under the CTA. So we would like to listen this afternoon to the detailed presentation of the DOF and the BOC, as well as the inputs from the rest of our resource persons on all the amended reservations to the CTA annexes. It is truly our hope that the CTA and all the Philippine reservations result to the further simplification of customs formalities for the admission of goods and promote the ease of doing business in the country. So, siguro we will have a shorter session than compared to the last time, especially if we focus on what has changed. What are the changes from the initial set of reservations now to the amended set of reservations? Siguro ganon, ano? So then we can now proceed with discussing the implications of the changes. Okay, so may we now hear from I will again recognize senators when I see their video feed. Wala pa ako nakikita ng fellow senator ko kasi. So let us now hear from our resource person. Yes, Senator Pia. Senator Pia Cayetano. Okay. So I'm done with my opening statement. Maybe if Senator Pia wants to make one, I will give her time. Senator Pia?
No need. I just want to listen. I just want to listen.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. So, siguro I will not follow the order of presentation recommended by the COMSEC. Let's listen to DOF na. DOF
Okay.
is I think the agency which first of all requested for the chance to revisit the reservations and then which made the amendments to the reservations. So let us hear from them. Why the changes were made and what would be the more beneficial effects of the amendments. So sino si Asek Napao?
Napao, sir.
Asek, ikaw na Asek Napao. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. As well as to Senator Cayetano and other members of the Senate panel. and also to our other resource persons joining this hearing this afternoon. Mr. Chair, essentially, my opening statements is essentially the same as what has been narrated by the Honorable Chair, such that I will go directly into the summary part of my opening statement. Mr. Chair, in summary, the revised or the instrument of accession that is now submitted by that was submitted by the Office of the President to the Senate for ratification. Of the 13 annexes, we propose, or it now contains acceptance in full of 5 annexes, accession with reservation on 4 annexes, and there is rejection of 4 remaining annexes of the 13 annexes, Mr. Chair. We note that paragraph 4 of Article 24 of the Istanbul Convention only requires that the Philippines accepts Annex A and at least one other annex in that convention at the time of accession. And this requirement is satisfied in the present instrument of accession that is now being presented before the Senate for ratification. Mr. Chair, BOC's Attorney Lito Doria will then explain in detail the what has changed and other details in the annexes, Mr. Chair. May I ask that Attorney Doria of the BOC be recognized?
Yes, Attorney Doria of Customs, you have the floor.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and other guests of today's meeting, today's hearing. Can I share my slide now?
Comsec, can you make
Yes,
that
sir.
possible? Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir Lito, dun po sa share button.
Opo, opo.
Apo.
Sige po. Okay. Hindi po nag-highlight. Sorry po. Sandali lang po. Hindi siya nag-highlight. Hindi po ako makapag-share. Sandali po ha.
Can you send it to us, sir? Kami na lang po mag-share.
Sige po. Saan po? Sa chat na lang po? Or
We'll ask our EDP. Pwede ba sa chat lang?
Let us suspend for 3 minutes. Sige,
Yes, sir, please.
while you discuss para hindi naman on the record yung ano. Sige, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Suspended.
Thank you, sir.
hearing is resumed with the understanding of BOC, Attorney Doria. We will come back to you when your presentation is ready. In the meantime, since the field expert is present, we can listen to Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis, assuming that he already is very familiar with the changes in the reservations. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I just read the comment of the Department of Finance, and I think they're also recommending the passing of the you know, 80 Carnet bill. Unfortunately, I don't understand what is the implication of the remaining items that they say that they do not agree with, no? Or can we just ratify the treaty or whatever with those of the Senate, of the Department of Finance? I guess so, because they are also recommending that we need it.
Sir, we are ready to share po.
Teka, there's a question. Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis is posing a question. Can you state it again, sir? You want the
Well,
question answered?
The Department of Finance is recommending the bill to be passed already.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they had before several items in question. There is still 4 that they are saying that they object to, but at the same time they're saying for us for the Senate to ratify it. So I do not know the implication of that.
Okay, and then
Is it possible
it's very clear,
to them?
sir. Sir, that's very clear with me. It's part of the reservations. It will be part
Yes.
of the communication that we will be sending to the organization. No, na we agree, we will agree. But out of the 13 annexes, paano ba yung pagkahati doon? 4, mayroong 4 that actually it's not that we do not agree with, because parang not applicable eh. At least 2 annexes are not applicable because they apply to countries which are connected through land borders with another country. And then the other manifestation is that we do not have under our laws a partial ano bang pag-wording no, na? Just to be exact, Philippine law does not allow partial relief from import duties and taxes. So, ganun po 'yon. So, it will be part of our communication. So, para klaro po dun sa organization. So, there is no conflict.
We ratified even with the reservation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's part of the process.
That's nice to hear.
Yes.
That's nice to hear.
It's part of the process and part of our rights under the convention. Wala po, no problem there, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay na sir, okay na sir.
It was bothering me because I thought we ended up with a blank wall again. Thank you.
In the January hearing, you expressed your enthusiasm for
Yes.
this to be ratified. Are you still maintaining that same enthusiasm?
See, all our exporters are waiting for the ratification because it will certainly help us, especially during this time that we need to recover.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So no other additional sir, manifestation, okay na?
No more.
Because the last hearing, the organization made a very comprehensive manifestation already. Attorney Doria, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you have the floor, sir.
Sige po. Thank you po. Okay, good afternoon once again. So this is just a reiteration and a short discussion on the reservations that we made and the changes in the reservations in relation to the Istanbul Convention on Temporary Admission. Next slide, please. So just for us to for a proper perspective, there are two major conventions on temporary admission. One is the Carnet Convention, and the other is the Istanbul Convention. So the Carnet Convention was adopted in 1961. The Istanbul Convention is in 1990. So the Carnet talks about the use of these Carnet documents. So next slide, please. So as a short discussion, the Carnet only focuses on these following products: the professional equipment, goods for display or use at exhibitions, fairs, meetings, or similar events. So those are limited goods that are allowed under the Carnet Convention. And under the Carnet Convention, there is no provision for the CPD Carnet. The CPD Carnet refers to the temporary admission papers, just like the Carnet, but it now refers to admission of a means of transport. So under the Istanbul Convention, there are two carnets that we have to remember: the Carnet and the CPD Carnet. Okay, next slide, please. So as I have mentioned earlier, these are the new series of products that are being covered under the Istanbul Convention, and these are part of the annexes that will be discussed later on. Whether the government has made a reservation or accepted or rejected this following our accession to this specific annexes in the Istanbul Convention. So I will just go directly to the specific annex as and discuss to you the specific decision of the president insofar as this particular annexes are concerned. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so before we go to the annex, we have to remember that any reservation that is being entered into by the Philippines may be withdrawn anytime, in whole or in part, at any time, by notification to the depositary specifying the date on which such withdrawal takes effect. So if we withdraw our reservation, then by all means, that particular reservation will be removed, and then we have that particular annex will be accepted as part of our accession to the convention. Okay, next slide, please. So as mentioned by Assistant Secretary Napao, this is a must. This is a requirement, a mandatory accession. We should accept this particular annex, Annex A, on the use of temporary admission paper. So we have to use the Carnet and the CPD Carnet. And based on the convention, there is an allowable reservation that will be made that is given to the country if we want to make a reservation. And it's stated in Article 13 of that particular convention, which means that the contracting party shall have the right to enter reservation in accordance with Article 29 of this convention in respect of the acceptance of carnets for postal traffic. So that's exactly what we will be making a reservation, that insofar as the use of carnet and CPD carnet, it will not cover postal traffic, or that's the mail matters that we have. We will be we are currently using, because there's a separate convention insofar as the movement or postal traffic is concerned. So there's no need for us to include this in this particular convention. So as a rationale for this is that several countries also made the same reservation, because exactly we have already an agreement insofar as postal traffic is concerned. So next slide, please. So insofar as Annex B1 is concerned, B1 refers to goods for display at use or use at exhibitions, fairs, meetings, or similar events. So you might observe that this is one of the products also in the Carnet Convention. So it's adopted here in the Istanbul Convention. So just the same, we are given, we're also allowed to make a reservation insofar as this one is concerned. But for this particular convention, we accepted this particular annex. So there's no reservation insofar as this B1 is concerned. So once the agreement is signed, then goods for display or exhibition fairs will be accepted and will be using the ATA Carnet and the CPD Carnet if it's applicable. Next slide, please. So Annex B2 refers to professional equipment. So under Annex B2, the convention does not allow for any reservation. So whether it's either we accept it or not. But insofar as based on the discussion that we have to generate investment and to promote sporting activities in the Philippines, what we recommended and the president also agreed that we accept entirely this particular annex. Okay, so next slide, please. So B3 refers to containers, pallets, packing, samples, and other goods imported in connection with a commercial operation. So in this particular annex, there are two reservations that are allowed under the convention. So one is that insofar as the containers, pallets, and packings are concerned, or samples are concerned, you cannot make more than 3 reservations. So for the Philippines, we only made reservation insofar as the packings are concerned, but we allowed the containers, pallets, and samples. So just justification for the reservation insofar as packings are concerned is that pursuant to the CMTA, there are particular requirements or specific requirements insofar as packings are concerned, and we might require the customs document and provisions for security insofar as these particular goods are concerned. So just to make sure that the packings are properly monitored insofar as its arrival and its exportation is concerned, we made this particular reservation. Okay. The second reservation is there are other articles listed also in the convention which we found to be a catch-all provision. It's so hard for us to accept other goods which might become a source of confusion later on. So just the same insofar as the other goods are concerned, then we made that particular reservation that there has to be no temporary admission insofar as other goods are concerned. Okay, there are specific listings under the convention insofar as this is concerned. So we did not use this. We did not allow this for particular part of the Annex B. Okay, next slide, please. So B4 refers to goods imported in connection with the manufacturing operation. Under the convention, there is no reservation that is allowed. So we recommended that we accept B4 in its entirety. So the rationale for this is that acceding to this annex will assist local manufacturers in their effort to be globally competitive. It will also attract international manufacturers to establish their manufacturing plants in the Philippines. So B4, insofar as manufacturing operations is concerned, we acceded. We recommend it to be accepted. Okay. So next slide, please. B5 refers to goods imported for educational, scientific, or cultural purposes. So in this particular annex, the convention allows for reservation insofar as they relate to scientific equipment and pedagogic material. So that's exactly what also our reservations are being made, because pursuant to Article 6, the Philippine laws and regulations require the submission of customs documents in the importation of such equipment and material. So this is to ensure that the goods are properly monitored. We are not prohibiting the arrival of these materials, but we are just making sure that the monitoring of these goods are being made. That's why we require a specific document or another customs document to this effect, not just the ATA Carnet or not just the ATA Carnet. Okay, next slide, please. So B6, insofar as B6 is concerned, B6 refers to travelers' personal effects and goods imported for sports purposes. Under the convention, we cannot make a reservation. So our recommendation was that we accede to this particular annex in its entirety, because acceding to this annex will provide opportunity for Philippines to host international sporting tournaments and competitions, and encouraging participants by encouraging participants, and it will also facilitate customs clearance process of the goods for exhibits.
Attorney Doria, excuse, maintain that slide. I want to get Senator Pia's reaction. No? Mukhang, si Pia, agree yata si Pia rito. Oh. International sporting
Actually,
tournaments, Pia.
Yeah. Actually, I was curious. I didn't want to take the time, but since you asked me for my thoughts, I was curious talaga. You mean to say in the meantime, today, without acceding to this convention, we are actually taxing sporting equipments by professional athletes who come here. Talagang detrimental yun sa international competition. Kasi ako, I've competed abroad and I'm not even a professional. And the biggest complaints I hear from my friends who do the same is yung airfare, yung air cargo nung bike namin. Or kung yung mga nagdadala na. Pero never ako nakarinig ng tinatax. So is it really something that's being taxed or pinapalusot na lang? Never heard of it that complain eh.
Your Honor, insofar as the current law is concerned, there is no specific provision under the CMTA, specifically under Section 800 of the CMTA, allowing for temporary admission of goods, specific mention about sports equipment. But we also have, under those sections, we have sections about goods to accompany you in the exercise of your profession. So if you're a professional, you're engaged in sporting activity, if you are competing and that's your part of your professional activity, then we allow this particular section under the CMTA. We gave a greater way of latitude and accept other this for sporting purposes, but always subject to the approval of the Department of Finance.
And there is a non-tax din eh, di ba? The non-tax burden, di ba? The reportorial record, the documents that you need to show, di ba? Di ba? That's one of the benefits of the ATA Carnet. It's a simplified system. Attorney Doria, tama ba 'yon? Even
Yes,
if we do
sir.
not tax, for example, yung mga bikes of bicycles of the professional cyclists competing here in an international event, pero yung preliminary paperwork that they need to do, di ba? Mas madami compared to the ATA Carnet system.
Masakit sa ulo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama ba 'yon?
Yes, Your Honor.
The non-tax angle.
Yes, Your Honor. Because if you are covered under the CPD Carnet, you have already a CPD Carnet for that particular sporting equipment, Your Honor, then it will be recognized as just like any passport for goods. So we'll just present this particular document, and then customs will accept it. And it's also guaranteed that particular ATA Carnet is once it's mentioned, it's guaranteed by another guaranteeing association.
But I have a question. No? Earlier, before you went into each annex, you showed some details on, like, may nakalagay for postal is not going to be covered. Is my understanding correct na this has to be on the traveler's personal effect? This has to be nakalagay, traveler's personal effects. In other words, if they send their gear ahead of time, which is very common, yung malalaking gear, siniship yan minsan separately from the person, hindi covered dito, hindi ka makaka-benefit.
I think, Your Honor, we have to, if we bring it to through forwarders,
Yeah.
through forwarders, then we will just present the document. Kasi dapat yun lang ang
Okay.
the goods has to
Personal
be
still considered your personal effect. I'm just clarifying that personal effect does not mean it's literally physical with you. Parang pwede naman yan i-process yan through the forwarders. Yun lang naman pinopost ko kasi a lot of big equipment are done that way. Like our Olympian, si EJ Obiena, who is going to the Olympics. Hindi niya kasabay yung yung pole niya pang high jump, hindi niya kasabay yun mag-travel. Hiwalay yun nagta-travel sometimes sa kanya. So similarly, I just want to be sure na covered yun.
Covered yun, Attorney Doria. Covered yun.
Yes, Your Honor. I think it's covered. Yes.
It's ang pagbabago dito is the pole vault will now have its own passport.
Yes.
Called the Carnet. Yan yun. That's
Yes,
it.
Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just getting clarity kasi nga earlier in the presentation there was something that said that yung postal. There was a presentation shown on postal. So wasn't quite clear. It said that postal is not included. So in my mind, does that mean pag pinadalan mo sa post, hindi yan covered? That's a general question for all. Like for example,
correct.
going back to the other annex which was when there are what do you call this, exhibits, ano ko din yan dumaan din ako sa ganyang lifestyle kasi I used to be in the business of exhibits. Hiwalay din yan, hindi yan kadalasan, half the time hindi yan kasama din ng person. So I'm just clarifying, ano ba ibig sabihin ng kanina na postal?
Your Honor, yung postal kasi doon sa part siya ng Annex A. Yun yung requirement ng ATA Carnet at saka yung CPD Carnet. Yung parang nire-recognize mo yung particular document na ito for this particular product. But once I think that's just my opinion, Your Honor. I will not be because maybe during the issuance of implementing rules insofar as this particular convention is concerned, insofar as my opinion is that if it's for sporting purposes, then it's regardless of whether the traveler has to be with you. As long as it will be used for a recognized or a sporting event.
Okay, but I mean, my question, Mr. Chair, my question on that issue on the postal relates not just to sporting events, but to all the other annexes, no? Whether it's your products sa convention mo, samples ng products mo, or yung scientific and educational. That's still a general question that I want explained lang later on. Kasi may nakita ko na excluded daw pag postal So, kina-clarify ko lang din yun.
I agree, ma'am. Yun din ang question ko sa mind ko Ito po, just customs and the DOF. Yung phrase lang, the ATA Carnet shall not be acceptable for postal traffic. So yun lang, you have to just explain what is the meaning of that phrase in our reservation. No? Kasi this agreement allows us to adopt a system. You call it the ATA Carnet system. But sabi natin, let us not apply this for postal traffic. So yun, explain nyo yun mamaya. Patapusin ko muna si Attorney Doria, but ako rin mismo, naisip ko, napatanong din ako doon what does that mean? So, yung yung practical real world application of the agreement plus the reservation. But in the meantime, siguro, Attorney Doria can continue from B, ano ka na ba? B.6, Annex B.6.
Yes, sir.
Pati nga dito, may tanong din ako sa
Okay, so next slide, please. Next slide, please. So B7, tourist publicity materials. So the convention does not allow for reservation insofar as the previous slide. Yeah, so does not allow for reservation. So we recommended that we do not need to accede to this particular annex because materials are readily available online and there might be no need to accede to this because besides the convention also states that there is no need for an Carnet for this publicity material. So why do we have to accede if we do not use the Carnet in the first place? So that's what we recommend that we do not need to accede to this particular annex. Next slide, please. So Annex B8 refers to goods imported as frontier traffic. So the annex also does not allow for a reservation. So insofar considering that the Philippines is an archipelagic country, importation between frontier zones are not applicable to the Philippines. So these are movement of goods usually happening between landlocked countries. So there's no need for us to accede to this particular annex. Next slide, please. So B9, imported goods for humanitarian purposes. So also the convention does not allow for any reservation. So our recommendation was that we have to accept this Annex B in its entirety because it's important in the Philippines, which is prone to natural calamities. And I think it's about time for us to have this particular source of document in exchange for other formalities when it arrives in customs, particular referring to the equipment that will be used for what do you call this one during calamities. So there will be a great use for this particular convention insofar as humanitarian purposes is concerned.
Mr. President, Mr. Chair, just like to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Spread it into the record, no? It says goods covered for humanitarian purposes. Yung rationale natin, since we are prone to calamities, this would be very important. Ako lang, I'd like to, I don't know if you will officially change your rationale, but at least I'll include mine. It's not just calamities, no? Because one of my advocacies is cleft lip operations. I had a child with a cleft lip, but he passed away. And that and so many other medical missions, Mr. Chair, that come here, they don't come just because there's a calamity. This is an annual pilgrimage by a lot of groups, no, that are helping us in various medical interventions. And hirap na hirap talaga sila. Hirap na hirap sila sa atin dahil sila na nga yung pumupunta dito, doctors, nurses, surgeons, the medicines they bring. Sometimes they also bring equipment. Hirap na hirap sila. Ilang beses na ako nag-intervene to help facilitate their paper. So I'd like to be clear that our acceptance should not just be because of calamities, di ba? Mabuti nang i-broaden natin yan for whatever purpose it serves. I mean, i-clarify natin na yes, we are calamity prone, but a lot of it may be under the radar of whoever prepared this that ang daming pumapasok dito na not because of natural calamities, but just because of the need for medical assistance that comes from our humanitarian neighbors abroad.
BOC will take note of that. Although
Yes, sir.
although the rationale will not be communicated naman to the depositary.
Okay.
Hindi
Okay,
na.
okay.
Pero mas mabuti i-donate na lang Torredoria. Dapat gano'n na lang, wag na kasi this system is about goods na pinasok and then ilalabas ulit. So just make it easier for them to donate the goods brought in here para iwanan na nila. What is the rule?
Actually, alam ko, yung mga cases na alam ko, iiwan talaga nila.
Correct.
So,
yes,
Oo.
Attorney Doria, what provision of law allows that? Yung iiwan na, di ba pwede nang iiwan eh?
Well, under Section 800 of CMTA,
pa rin,
I
okay.
think it's paragraph N. It allows donors or donations of this kind of subject to the approval of Department of Health and other relevant government agencies.
So this will be for cases na hindi i-donate. Yan lang yan, di ba? Tama ba yan, Attorney Doria?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Yes, hindi, wala silang balak i-donate. They need to bring out of our customs territory the goods that they brought in. Pero
Yes, Your Honor.
pero at least basta we are glad to know na paano na rin, it's also easy to donate the equipment. Is it easy or is it difficult? Rules natin. Make it easy.
The easiest way, Your Honor, is during time of calamities because it's specifically provided under the law. So if it's there's a declaration of a state of calamity, then Section 120 and 121 of CMTA allows duty and tax-free donation.
Senator Pia, yes.
Yeah. So just to clarify, as the chair pointed out, this is for goods not intended to be donated, ano? I can double check with these missions, no, but from what I know kasi karamihan stay to be donated, but I don't really know. If they will be leased for an indefinite period, pwede ba yun? I'm just really, di ba, like the question of the good chair, ano ba yung pinakamadali? Di ba? So, that's why even though His Honor said that itong rational hindi naman isasubmit, pero for our own implementation, gusto ko maliwanag na hindi lang calamity. Merong panahon na pumapasok sila and it's regular. It's not as if we are able to, we're one of the countries with the highest cleft lip. Okay, example lang yan. So, bakit hindi tayo magiging open dyan? And so then, I go back to my question, Mr. Chair, what if it's like a 10-year, 20-year lease? Kasi it makes sense that if these people have a regular medical mission here, iiwan na nila yan dito, di ba? O di wag na lang nila i-donate kung mas complicated i-donate. Pero they lease it out for 20 years. Alangan naman ibabalik-balik pa nila yon. Pwede ba yon? Papayagan nyo. Yung sa akin, kung ano yung pinakamadali, di ba? Kasi tinutulungan nila tayo eh.
Basta ganito, narinig na tayo ng customs. Basta you suggest to us if we need to amend the law to make donation easier. Tapos, another provision of law siguro for long-term stay in the Philippines of the item. Kasi
Yeah.
I think this ATA Carnet system is for short
Short-term.
period of time, 1 year maximum ba yun? And then may 6 months no for certain goods, ganun ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
the treaty, Senator Pia, concerns items to be brought temporarily inside the country, pero the word temporary means not for a period not longer than 1 year.
Sige, so sige, so on that note, it may be subject of a different ano na lang, no, a different measure altogether kung ganon, which I'm happy to be educated now so that I know that we might have to tackle that somewhere else, no? Thank you.
We can get the idea from this agreement. Yeah, yun ang gawin natin. Tapos go one step beyond, make the donation easier, di ba? Iwan na lang nila. Kasi pinasok na nila. Sige, Attorney Doria, you can continue, sir.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Next slide, please. So, this refers to Annex C. So, it refers to the means of transport. Under the convention, it allows for reservation but when we look at the reservations, I think this particular annex is not applicable to the Philippines under the same justification that the Philippines is not a landlocked country. So there's no transit of vehicles or motor vehicles from one country to another. So we recommend that we do not accede to this particular annex. Okay, next slide, please. So, also for animals, the law, the convention also allows for reservation. we have made a reservation on the basis of Article 5D. I think I'll have to check it again. I'm sorry. D. Yeah, Your Honor, insofar as this particular annex is concerned, we have not accepted this particular annex. So the wording of the statement coming from the president is that the government declares that in accordance with 5.1 of Annex D, Article 4.1 shall not be accepted, and further, on the basis of Article 5.2 of Annex D, items 12 and 13 of the appendix to Annex D shall not be accepted. So there are several items which are not allowed under this particular annex. We did not make a detail of what particular classification of animals under the convention is being stated here, Your Honor. So, but our justification here is that the animals that we made reservation or we recommended not to be accepted are those animals that are being transferred from one country to another just to evade harsh conditions or winter conditions. So as soon as the weather becomes fine or acceptable to animals, then it will be brought back to the country. So that's why we make a reservation that it is not applicable to the Philippines. Okay, next slide, please. So this one, goods imported with partial relief from import duties and taxes. Under the convention, we allowed a reservation, but our recommendation is that we do not need to accede to this particular convention on the partial relief from import duties, because it's based on our reading of the CMTA, it's not allowed to provide partial relief from import duties and taxes for goods. So our recommendation was that we do not have to accede to this particular annex. Okay, so next slide, please. I think those are the items that are subject of the reservations, acceptance or rejection by the Office of the President, Your Honor, based on the recommendation from the Department of Finance and the BOC, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing I noticed is that we changed the substance of our reservation. Tama ba yon, Asek Napao? Dati, before, it was about VAT, di ba? Imposing VAT. Now, ngayon, may reservations pa rin tayo, pero iba na ang focus, iba na ang ground.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. We note that the VAT reservation is not really in accordance with how the other jurisdictions have made the reservation to the convention. Although we would have wanted that to preserve and to not expand the exemptions from VAT, but to be consistent and aligned with how the reservation should be made, we have decided to withdraw the VAT reservations and instead put these new reservations, Mr. Chair, to align with how really the reservation should be made.
Oh, ngayon there is totally no mention of VAT. So ano sabihin to? In reality, let us say we are now implementing this system. Pagpasok nung ATA Carnet covered item, no argument as to whether it's VATable or not.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Opo.
No argument na it's not VATable.
Exempt po.
Oh, wala nang argument doon, ha? Okay, sige.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. Kasi dati kasi it's exempt from duties tapos vatable, it would still create delays and problems on the part of that of the importer bringing the goods. So tinanggal na po natin.
Meron na namang non-tax friction. 'Di ba? Kasi nga ang ginagawa nga natin sana, 'di ba, facilitation of the entry of goods, 'di ba? Para wala nang debate-debate. Can we go back to the question of Senator Pia, and also, which is also my own question? How do we anong tawag mo to, interpret or construe yung ating the phrase in our reservation that the ATA Carnet shall not be acceptable for postal traffic. Ano ibig sabihin po nun? Can you illustrate in real life situation?
Perhaps the BOC can make a clarification, Mr. Chair, if they are ready.
Yeah, I think, Your Honor, I have to defer my comment right now because I was not assigned in postal division or of the bureau. But my take here, Your Honor, is that the postal traffic, insofar as Annex A is concerned, only refers to the general acceptability of CPD Carnet. But if it's part of another annexes, if it's clearly stated under a different annex, then that particular annex will have to be applied regardless of whether we made the reservation insofar as Annex A is concerned. So if the purpose of the importation, of the temporary importation of this sporting equipment is clearly stated under Annex B6 ba yun, or B7, then that particular annex will have to be applied.
Kasi this is Article 18, Paragraph 1, which is the only reservation allowed for under Annex A. Kasi ang Annex A yata, yun yung mandatory that all parties to the convention must agree to Annex A, except that Article 18.1 of Annex A allows the reservation. Ito po pagkasulat. Each contracting party shall have the right to enter a reservation, in accordance with Article 29 of this convention, in respect of the acceptance of ATA Carnets for postal traffic. So please ask your expert. Siguro masagot na nila tayo in 30 minutes. You can relay the answer. But ako ang guess ko in the real life application of this is that you cannot use the ATA Carnet system for items that you send through the post. That's my interpretation, but I need the implementor's interpretation. Can we do that?
Yes,
Can
Your
we do
Honor.
that, Attorney Doria? Just
Yes, Your Honor.
look at Article 18, Paragraph 1 of Annex A. Ano lang natin yun para masagot, para maklaro rin sa mind namin kasi I will be defending this. I will be sponsoring this. And if Senator Pia asks me the question, how will I answer?
Yes, Your Honor.
But that is my interpretation. So pakitingin na lang. So any other questions on the presentation of the DOF and BOC?
Ako, tanungin ko na ngayon, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
hindi na sa floor, you can just spread it into the record. When we say postal, does that have a technical meaning such that that is different from courier services? That is the you know what I mean? Like, dati kasi nung bata tayo, talagang post office lang. Ngayon, meron ng mga courier service. So, what is the technical definition of postal? Para when you clarify that for us, isama nyo na yung, ano ba yung definition ni postal? Kasi ako, I personally don't know. I assume I don't know. I don't have any assumption if it includes privately owned courier services or others?
Insofar as my recollection is right, Your Honor, the Postal Convention states that these postal matters will be refers to those which are regulated by the government, like those perhaps even operated by the government, like the Philippine Postal Corporation. It does not refer to private entities, because they are not part of the convention. So insofar as the Philippines is concerned, we refer to parcels or mail matters subject to the jurisdiction of the Philippine Postal Corporation. So insofar as the Philippines, US is concerned, the US Postal Service is the one that is
I was
being part
thinking
of it.
that also. So therefore, if it turns out that our chairperson's interpretation is correct, and of course, he said subject to the experts, then ang bawal lang gamitin or hindi ma-include is yung government postal services. If gamitin nila yung mga DHL, FedEx, that this rule won't apply. Diba? Kasi ang in-exclude lang is itong postal traffic. Anyway, ikumpleto nyo na lang
Yes,
yung
sir.
picture when you explain that along with the
Okay, Your Honor.
interpretation we're asking clarity on. Thank you.
Okay, basta as I understand this, we are entering into an already established system, di ba? Ayan ang gusto natin pasukan, the Carnet system. So, kailangan intindihin lang mabuti what is that system. It is a system where there is a passport system for goods temporarily staying in one customs jurisdiction. Yan po yung main yan po ba yung main essence nitong agreement na gusto nating i-approve?
Yes, Your Honor.
Asik Napaw and Attorney Doria. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige, and then there is this ano, 'di ba? There is this parang identification of a national issuing and guaranteeing
Association.
association. So, who will do that? Who will designate the NIGA? Customs? DOF? OP?
Your Honor, insofar as the convention is concerned, what is being cited is that the custom shall issue regulations on the
Niga.
niga. Yes, sir.
Okay, so most likely, when we implement this convention, it will be the Commissioner of Customs who will now designate the NIGA.
Yes, Your Honor, subject to the approval of the DOF, Your Honor.
Subject to, okay, siyempre, okay, DOF, okay.
Yes, sir.
Right now, do we already have an organization which is a potential NIGA?
Your Honor, actually, we already have made preparations on the regulation IRR insofar as the Istanbul Convention is concerned, but there are interested parties that might be willing to be an guaranteeing association, Your Honor.
This system will not work kung walang participation ng private sector, ano? Kung walang participation ng NIGA. Tama po ba 'yon? We need that NIGA, and that is a private entity, not a government entity. Am I correct?
Mr. Chair, if I may po.
Sino to, Ma'am Elsa?
Po, from Export Development Council po.
Yes, yes.
May I po endorse it to Mr. Ortiz Luis as the Vice Chair of the Export Development Council to speak on this NIGA po, because EDC already made an endorsement on who is the appropriate NIGA to implement the Carnet in the Philippines po, which is the Chamber of Commerce accredited by International Chamber of Commerce po. Mr.
Okay.
Ortiz Luis.
Yes, ma'am. One more question lang sa'yo. You made, EDC made the endorsement. Addressed to who?
To
OP?
BOC, BOF.
BOC.
BOF, BOC.
DOF, BOC. Okay, I get it. So, Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis, please enlighten us.
The implementer of the, because there is a guarantee, that once accepting the guarantee will be the International Chamber of Commerce, and therefore, in all countries where there is a presence of the chamber affiliated to International Chamber of Commerce, they want the Liga to be the Chamber of Commerce. So in this particular case, we endorse, even PhilExport endorse the Philippine Chamber of Commerce to be the one to implement this.
Philippine di ba PCCI po yun? Let's get the complete name. Philippine Chamber
Commerce and
of
Industry.
Commerce and Industry, which is a SEC incorporated entity, SEC
Yes.
incorporated, as a non-profit organization.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so klaro.
And also a member of the International Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. So, okay, once this agreement is to be implemented in the Philippines and we need now to designate our NIGA, it will most likely be the PCCI. There is no other name, there's no other entity being floated or being endorsed as the NIGA, the possible NIGA. Wala na. Wala na po, Ma'am Elsa, Mr. Sergio Ortiz Luis. Wala na po.
Well, because this is really pushed by exporters, there was also the possibility of before of the Philippine exporters or PhilExport to be the one, but we worked closely together. We are also a member of the PCCI, and we understand that that the International Chamber of Commerce will not recognize anybody else in the Philippines because they already said so. It will be the Philippine Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Yes. I'm just explaining the processes involved in the convention. Basta ganun po ang mangyayari. Anyway, designated na lahat kung sino ang kikilos, sino ang magre-recognize. Any other points from BOC? Okay na, Attorney Doria?
Yes, Your Honor. The convention only recognizes the convention only states that any issuing or guaranteeing association has to be recognized. What do you call this one? Associated with an international organization. So if it's part of the international or guaranteeing chain, what is being mentioned in the convention, then we will allow it because I think even in other countries if there are two associations that are being recognized by the guaranteeing chain, then if both of them will apply, then we might be approving two guaranteeing associations. But if there is only one, I think my take is that then as long as it's part of the guaranteeing chain, it's acceptable to the Bureau, Your Honor.
Okay. Your interpretation is we can recognize more than one NIGA.
Yes, Your Honor, because it's defined that it refers to associations. It does not refer only to a single association or guaranteeing association in a particular administration, Your Honor. So we may allow more than one if it's part of the guaranteeing chain.
Yes, because ang ano rito, even if we recognize more than one, but they must be implementing only one system, one international system. Yan yung importante, ha?
Yes,
Kasi pati kayo malilito pagka dalawa-dalawang voucher na yan, dalawa-dalawang forms na yan. I mean, di ba?
Yes,
okay, so that is clear. So thank you, Attorney Doria. Asek Napaw, any other inputs?
We have no additional input, Your Honor, recognizing that the next step after this convention is ratified is on the part of the BOC to prepare the, I think it is a customs administrative order naming the NIGA, and that CAO is subject for approval by the Secretary of the Department of Finance.
Okay. So, Comsec, can we find out from the DFA before the executive branch, before the president approved our accession to this convention, which agencies were consulted? Because now we will ask those agencies if, in the light of the revised reservations, do they have any comments? DTI, ayun pala si ASEC FT. Any
We have
comment from the DTI? Sino? DFA, any comment? In the light of the revised reservations, na hindi naman masyadong radical actually. Di ba? We corrected the focus from VAT kasi hindi siya, it might not be, the VAT reservation might not really be applicable. So we saw some more applicable rationale or reasons. Oh, sino muna? Si ASEC Hefty muna. Just in case lang meron po, DTI, and then saan ba ito? Yes, ASEC Hefty.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, colleagues. The primary bureau in charge of the facilitation of the 88 Carnet is our SITEM and Export Management Bureau. We generally support our accession to the 88 Carnet. So we'll just take note of the revised recommendation or reservations rather presented earlier. And I understand the Office of the Secretary will be submitting the formal position paper on the matter. Thank you.
Executive Director Manalo, I can see you. So just in case lang po, just in case you have any comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few comments, additional comments. The DFA played a very important role in the preparatory process for our accession. In line with Memorandum Circular 27, dated October 6, 2017, which directed all government agencies to strengthen the implementation of the Philippine Export Development Plan, and specifically item number 17 of that same memorandum circular, which mandated our office, the DFA, to advocate for the Philippines' accession to this convention. The DFA conducted various activities to shepherd the process of accession. We a series of interagency meetings with relevant stakeholders to determine the convention's potential benefits and implications on our national legislations. These serve as inputs during the technical consultation meetings we convened to assist the DOF and particularly the Bureau of Customs in preparing their position and recommendation. Mr. Chair, if I may recall, we also had exploratory meetings on this matter with the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry officials, specifically with Mr. Sergio Luis Ortiz, way back in 2017. We take note that the PCCI has expressed its interest in this convention. Mr. Chair, further through the initiative of the Export Development Council, led by its former head, Ms. Emma Mijares, an expert on the 88 Carnet from Singapore, was invited to conduct a seminar for officials of relevant government agencies. I believe that was in 2018, on the merits of this 88 Carnet. Mr. Chair, we are indeed pleased to have arrived at this final step in the Philippines' accession to this Istanbul Convention through the concurrence of this committee and the Senate plenary later. We note that the DOF has proposed an amendment to the reservations in the revised instrument of accession, which we fully support. The reservations made are technical in nature and are fully within the purview of the DOF and the BOC, and therefore we respectfully defer to their technical expertise in conveying their explanations for said reservations, as was just presented by our resource persons. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Executive Director Manalo. Anybody else? Okay, question. I have a question. Since Executive Director Manalo mentioned the implications to national legislation and to our existing free trade agreements. Tanong ko, any? Have we foreseen any implication on national legislation? Now, first, second question on free trade arrangements natin. Wala? No effect if we enter into this convention? How about that CMTA section 800? Will it be affected or they will be complementary? Yung sinasite natin parati na section 800 ba yun?
800, Your Honors.
Yes.
I think, Your Honor, there has to be, there will be changes in the documentary requirements insofar as the importation, temporary admission of these particular goods are concerned, Your Honor, because it speaks of the same products, Your Honor. So if there is already an ATA Carnet, then that would be sufficient insofar as the Bureau is concerned. Insofar as DFA is concerned, Your Honor, I think it will clearly facilitate the transactions with the Bureau. So it will expedite the release of the goods because there's already a defined documentary requirement for that particular good.
Okay, pero that's tama 'yon. So parang because of this convention that we will now implement, deemed modified yung some of your requirements under that section 800. So kayo na, through regulation, you will just clarify this.
Yes,
Ganun
sir.
yung mangyayari, tama? Okay. So, and then binanggit mo yung TFA, the Trade Facilitation Agreements. But ang question ko was really on the free trade agreements natin, like RCEP, ASEAN agreements, ASEC-HEPTI, DTI. Will this have an effect on our existing free trade agreements?
Thank you, Chair. Offhand, based on the presentation, we have not spotted any possible conflict with our existing trade agreements. In fact, as mentioned earlier, this is also consistent with our commitments under the Trade Facilitation Agreement also.
Kasi ang iba nating kapartner sa trade agreements natin, members din dito, tama ba? Tama, di ba? Are most of the ASEAN countries members of the Istanbul Convention? DFA, can you inform us? Among ASEAN countries, are they also members of the Istanbul Convention? Ito, the one we were discussing, the CTA? Sabi listahan ng mga members. Meron yata rito. Tingnan mo.
May I say something, Your Honors?
Yes, please.
Yes, during the previous presentation in January, I have presented several annex of the convention, and I noted and I checked in that Vietnam, Thailand is signatory to the convention. Indonesia is also a signatory to the convention.
So yun.
And Hong Kong, China, only, Your Honor. But other countries are also signatories to the ATA Convention. So the only feature between the ATA Convention, Your Honor, and the Istanbul is that even if the ATA Convention only talks about limited number of limited number of goods, the countries are allowed to add additional goods for their particular for the convention. So there's actually no need for them to accede to the Istanbul Convention if they're already they have already ratified to the ATA Convention.
So, meaning to say that if we finally join this ATA Carnet system, how many countries are already observing the said system or the same system? Kasi the more countries observing the said system, the more beneficial, hindi ba? Because this is about the exchange of goods. The Philippines, the Filipino entrepreneur who will participate in an exhibit in another country, member of the system, can now take advantage of the ATA Carnet system. So marami na ba ang member po nitong ATA Carnet system? 80, 100, 120? Ilang bansa na po ba?
Your Honor, it appears that there are 72 countries who are members of this convention as of the year 2020.
So both na yon, ano, pag sinabi mong convention, both na yon, yung ATA Carnet and then this CTA, the Istanbul Convention.
I think that's the count for CTA only, Your Honor.
CTA only, ilan ulit yun? 72 na, sir? 72?
Yes, Your Honor, 72.
Okay. 72. Tapos sinabi ni Atty. Doria, we can safely add the ATA members din. Sige, okay. Okay. So, yan, so yes.
Based on my, Your Honor, there are the facts that I gathered is that as of January, there are about 94 countries who have acceded either to any of the two conventions.
Okay.
94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kaya nga. So let's say 94, let's assume 94, and then we become part of this system. So that means our entrepreneurs, even our small entrepreneurs, can now, enjoy the benefits of the system in at least 94 countries. Ganun po ba yun? Ganun po yun? Yung pag meron siyang ATA Carnet, meron siyang exhibit na gusto niya mag-attend sa 3 consecutive exhibits sa 3 bansang members ng system. Pwede yun. That will facilitate everything, right? The participation of this entrepreneur, Filipino entrepreneur, will be facilitated by the ATA Carnet system. Tama po ba yan, Atty. Doria?
Yes, Your Honor. As long as they're part of the Annex, as long as they accept
Yes.
Annex. Yes.
Assuming siyempre may reservation din yung mga iba't ibang bansa, dapat alamin din natin 'yon. Siyempre, apa. But theoretically, yan yung concept, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
So yan. So that's a practical benefit na for our entrepreneurs. Attorney Pia, any other inputs? Baka mukhang patapos na tayo.
Okay na ako. Pag may naisip ako sa floor. Pero
Floor na lang.
Honestly, hindi na ako mag-iisip kasi yung concern ko dito was the DOF's concern on VAT, di ba? As Chair of Ways and Means. That was my initial but I learned a lot while listening. And if I have any questions, I'll just forward it to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that.
I'm happy to be educated.
And likewise, if the chair has questions, can I consult first with the agencies involved in writing so that you can help me prepare for the sponsorship of this agreement before the floor, before the plenary? Ganun po na lang gawin natin. Okay. Yes. Is DOJ present? Baka may one last word on DOJ. Wala na? Department of Justice, please. Meron? Is
hello, good afternoon.
Yes, State Council De Jesus.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. So far, we don't have any comments yet, but we will submit our official position paper. It's still being reviewed. Generally, we support it.
Okay, so you're welcome to submit position papers, but anyway, you have all manifested your support. Actually, the chair can assume your support kasi you have been the assumption is the executive branch already secured your ano ba tawag ninyo na conformity to the agreement. So is there a motion now from my committee members present for the committee to endorse the convention, the treaty, or the international agreement to the Senate plenary for concurrence in the ratification thereof?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we move to for the committee to endorse this international agreement to the Senate in plenary.
Thank you for that, Senator Cayetano. So, is there any objection? Okay, there being none, The Convention on Temporary Admission, or so-called Carnet Treaty, the Istanbul Convention, will now be endorsed by the committee to the plenary for concurrence in its ratification, and just help us defend the agreement because of its technical nature. The chair needs your assistance, everyone's assistance. So in the meantime, okay na po. So thank you. Thank you for all the inputs. Thank you for all the education that you've given us. Congratulations to all of those who worked hard on this agreement. Ilan years na to? Ilan na? 1990. 1990
Wow.
agreement.
Grabe.
1990 agreement. Pero okay, so
Panahon pa
thank
ng
you
mga
once
tatay
again.
natin, Mr. Chair.
Ano to, Senator Pia? What did you say? Ano?
Panahon pa ng mga tatay natin.
1990. No, 1990 agreement. Pero
I agree, but
and according to Mr. Ortiz Luis, they have been the parties have been to the agreement have been waiting for the Philippines to join the system. Sige.
we
So
finally
congratulations
saw
to
the
all.
light at the end of the tunnel after all these years.
It was so at least no si Yasek Napaw, the DOF we're true to their commitment not to prolong our agony. So at least a konting a few months delay in its approval. Okay na po 'yun. Okay na po 'yun. We could afford such wait, no? So salamat po muli, and happy birthday to our COMSEC. Happy birthday. So our hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Sue.